Yeah. We're moving. Well, do you want to do the Spanish a little bit first? Does anyone mind? We're going to speak. I don't speak Spanish, but I'm going to maybe take a question. And Marcus will ask me, and we just want to. There's a couple of Spanish-only people here. How unusual in Spain. So I thought we wanted to try it out. Then we can just go off. I'll just give them a little idea.
I'll try my best.
All right.
Dice que vamos a hacer un poquito en español, así que si tienes algo que preguntar, yo voy a intentar traducir un poquito.
Well, let's just say, start with that one thing, the basic verb of life is conscious contact, yes?
Dice que
This is going to go well. The basic verb of life is expressed conscious contact, yes? Seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching, seeing thoughts. Then identification as body. So here's conscious contact, yes?
Dice que luego hay identificación con el cuerpo y aquí ves conciencia, contacto consciente.
And conscious contact is having contact with appearances.
Y eso de conciencia está teniendo contacto con experiencia.
So conscious contact, this is an appearance, body.
Esta es una apariencia.
Conscious contact is here, body, mental process, brain here. Yeah?
Entonces, consciente de contactos aquí y luego la mente está aquí.
Yeah? So, seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching.
O sea que escuchando, sintiendo, todos los sentidos, ahí.
Yeah. Conscious.
Consciente.
Consciousness, yeah? Seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching.
Conciencia está en esos sentidos.
Conditioned mind, identified as this, yes?
Mente condicionado, identificado como cuerpo.
Claims, becomes owner of seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching.
Se reclama a todos esos sentidos de escuchar.
So, in a sense, conscious contact here, identification with brain and body. Now I'm seeing. I'm as this, I'm seeing. I'm as this, I'm feeling. I'm as this is thinking. I'm as this is hearing.
Entonces, claro, cuando el mente se ha identificado con todos esos sentidos, hay un yo que dice que yo estoy sintiendo, yo estoy escuchando.
So, when I am conscious of that, I become unconscious of this, yes?
Entonces dice, cuando yo estoy inconsciente de esto, estoy inconsciente de esto.
When I sense I'm conscious as this,
Cuando yo digo que estoy consciente de esto,
I'm unconscious of that.
estoy inconsciente de esto.
So, consciousness, I'm conscious, I'm seeing, I'm hearing, I'm feeling, I'm tasting, I'm touching.
Entonces, lo que te he dicho antes, o sea que hay un yo que está diciendo que yo estoy consciente de todo ese sentido.
Every moment, so conscious contact, yes? Paul, I'm conscious contact. Now seeing is looking. Seeing
Entonces, viendo está mirando,
is now I'm looking.
está diciendo yo estoy mirando.
So, in fact, what I am looking for is what's seeing.
Entonces, lo que yo estoy buscando está viendo.
But I can't recognize that as what's looking.
Entonces, yo no lo puedo reconocer esto como lo que está mirando.
I'll be looking, but I can't see the seeing because it's in the looking. Yeah.
Estoy mirando, pero no puedo ver lo que está
I entertain, I'm not what's looking.
Entonces, cuando yo you speak Spanish. Entonces,
Seguro que traduce mejor.
sí, ¿no?
Sí.
So, when you entertain, you're not this, yes?
Cuando entreno que no soy, que no soy eso,
Then you see what's looking.
entonces ves que lo que está observando.
That's that.
Eso es.
Maybe it's better when you sit very close. And
Well, that's that anyway. That's the little bit.
yeah, yes, something and
I think that's that anyway. I want to get that little point across. And then they can just sit and sense. Because they're sensing what's seeing now. That's all. That's the whole point. The message is very direct. Yeah? It doesn't take any time. No tiempo.
O sea que el mensaje es muy directo, que no necesita tiempo.
No tiempo. It's prior to time.
Es anterior del tiempo.
For mind to recognize it takes time. That's not it. It's not a recognition by mind.
Entonces, cuando entra en mente, hay un reconocimiento del tiempo.
It's an entertaining on not mind.
Es una.
That's it.
Está.
Quicker.
O sea que es anterior.
Yeah? So every moment there's seeing,
Entonces, en cada momento hay observación.
but it's hidden by the mental process of selfing, yes?
Entonces, pero está escondido por el proceso mental de autoconocimiento.
Because there's an identification as this,
Porque hay una identificación como esto,
and as this, you are like a game piece on a game board.
y como esto estás como un juego en un partido, un partido de
The game piece can never leave the game board.
el pieza nunca se puede salir de la placa del juego.
Its existence is determined by the game board.
Su existencia está determinado por el placa de juego.
One of the events of the game board is when the game piece wants to transcend the game board.
Una parte de su juego es cuando quiere salir del placa del juego.
It starts seeking to escape the game board.
Está buscando para salir del partido.
But a game piece cannot escape the game board.
Pero una pieza no se puede salir del juego.
So the point is to entertain. I'm not a game piece.
Entonces el juego es que no interpretar que soy una pieza del juego.
And that would be the escape from the game board
Y eso
without leaving anything. Yeah?
eso será el escape del partido.
The escape is not leaving.
El escape no está saliendo.
The brain of the game board, the game piece, wants to get out. Every move of seeking, run around the game board with the hopes of, a get out of free jail card or something. But everything here is part and parcel of the game board.
O sea que hay siempre por el juego de mente quiere salir de ese juego. Pero toda la pieza es una parte del juego.
So in a sense, when you realize I'm not this,
Entonces en un sentido cuando ves que no eres esto,
that lets this be everything it is,
entonces eso lo deja todo como sea,
which is seen as not you.
que se ve como que no eres tú.
When you're trying to get out of it, you're giving it its reality.
Cuando estás intentando salir de ello, estás
engine of the game board is wanting to get off the game board.
El motor del juego es de salir del juego. El motor del juego es querer salir del juego.
So every attempt to get off, every attempt to leave the squares of the game board is another square of the game board.
Entonces,
As this.
cualquier atento de salir del juego es otro paso a salir del juego.
Wherever this as you goes is the game board.
Entonces, cualquier paso que tú haces es un juego.
The news is you're not leaving.
La noticia es que no vas a salir.
There is no escape.
No hay escape.
Hallelujah.
Aleluya.
Drops, yes? Drops. Truly stops.
Se para.
That little wiggly, that little squirreliness, that little squirming and but. There's a dismissal of that because it's seen as not you. And that being in here is out of here. Being in here is actually out of here. Trying to get out of here is being in here. It's like when you feel you're walking forward, in a sense, you're walking backwards. Every end of the game board is the beginning of the game board. When am I going to get off this damn game board? I paid $20,000 for this retreat to get me off this game board. I want to be there when it gets good. Yeah. It hasn't happened to me yet. When the hell is it going to happen? I've been waiting so long. The game board is time and space. Yes. If it's not you, you lose interest in it. Every wanting to get off the game board is actually an interest in the game piece. There's a meaning given to it. As the game piece, you cannot entertain being anything other than the game piece. There's always going to be a sense of this as you, while you're thinking in this self-centered modality. And this thinking and interpretation, there is no way you can imagine yourself as not this. So you give up, yes? But then the you, this, claims it. I gave up. That's not giving up. That's giving up. It's like you gave up, but then you're going to take it back. Then you're going to give up again and back. And there's going to be an observation of everything that happens here by the game piece, about the game piece. There's no escape from it. That's the freedom of no escape. Because every moment in the game board, every move is witnessed. I don't like the word witness, but there's a seeing of it. Yes? The seeing that consciousness has preceded every event on the game board.
O sea que en cada momento, cuando hay un movimiento así, hay un viendo, hay una observación que está mirando.
Without the seeing, there would be no game. Yeah?
O sea
No.
que sin el viéndolo no habría un juego.
So every moment in the time of the game board, the get out of jail card is available.
O sea que en cada momento del movimiento hay una
It's the seeing demonstrated by hearing, feeling, tasting, touching, and witnessing thoughts. It's echoing, it's whispering your real nature, but not to you. Yes?
O sea que en cada momento estás diciéndole todo eso, pero no a ti mismo, no en tu pura naturaleza.
Sebastian's done already. All right. Johnny is already cooked too. No. This invitation is not a drawn-out event.
O sea que esta invitación no es algo ya escrito.
Actually, the invitation, usually, there's a sense when you hear it, if you haven't heard it before, it's like an unspoken yes, yeah? Sometimes. Something hits you. You didn't know what was going on, but then you hear this invitation and it registers, aha! That's the whole message.
O sea que el mensaje es que o puedes escuchar esto o no lo escuchas, ¿no? Porque eso es el mensaje.
But what usually happens is that aha immediately is thought about.
O sea que
Yes?
el momento que ves esto, el momento que ves la realización, o sea, viene el pensamiento y lo reclama.
And that's the reason for repetition, because you have to undo the thinking about it.
Esa es la invitación porque tienes que deshacer
Yeah. So there's the aha, yes, a sense somewhere, some hit, and then what occurs is the system applies its methodology to it, in its incessant claiming of anything, that's brought about by conscious contact. So now there's been conscious contact, and consciousness may have gotten a little bit of a tickle of its original face, so to speak. Not of form. Yeah? Then this modality arises and claims it. And now, once it claims it, it believes it can apply its method to it. So now it starts thinking about it. That's how it claims it. That's how it knows something. The knowing has already been hit, yeah? The aha is all there is. That's it. Boom. But then the conditioned mind thinks about it, and it's like when it's thinking about it, it's dismissing it. It's neutering the message. Yeah? So as soon as it's as if the baby is born, and then what claims to be the parent of it kills it. You can't kill it, but that's basically what happens. The message is given, but what goes home with the baby is the head, and the head thinks about it, yeah? And in the thinking about it, basically kills it. And then what occurs is you come back to another meaning. And then hopefully there's a sense of that again, but now it's almost more like a memory. A lot of the aha has been neutered or frozen, but there's a memory. So there's still that possibility flickering, so you keep coming back, and then this becomes another freaking path. Another path on the game board. Yeah? Now you're running around doing the same, but it has a different, maybe it has a more noble meaning to your head. It seems like it's very profound because it's about truth and stuff. But the same format has claimed it. It's now like one of the cards of the game board. Yeah? Non-duality. And now the game piece is entertaining non-duality as a game piece. It's like let's say there's I don't know if you know Sufism. They had an old way of describing the basic personalities or characteristics of every human, and they called it the Enneagram. Yeah? So the Enneagram was a way of every person that's appearing here, because in a sense, you're like a Peugeot or a Ford, yeah, or a Chevy. We've all been built a certain way, yes, from a certain factory at a certain time, and we drive like a Ford. We smell like a Ford, yeah, we turn like a Ford, and yet we have an idea that we're a special Ford. You know what I mean? Paul Ford. But in fact, we have an innate ability to block out any invitation of clarity. Yeah. As soon as we claim it, it becomes unclear to us. So here you are at a big retreat where people now are studying the Enneagram. And the Enneagram says, all right, Steve is a 7. So his qualities are he doesn't like confrontation, he travels a lot and everything. And all these spiritual adepts are at this thing, and now when they leave, they go, I'm a 7. The whole point of the information is I'm not a 7. Yeah? It's trying to describe what's appearing as you, so that you can say, because it's not unique, so that you can get the ordinariness of what you're calling so special. So you go, oh, thank you for the information. I am not a 7. But the mind immediately goes, I'm a 7. And then you try, are you a 7? Are you a sexual 8? I think sexual 8s really have a good time with a 7, whatever. And it goes on and on and on and on and on. Yeah. Then we have retreats. How, in a sense, truly, this is an opinion, but how can you have a long retreat about Advaita? It's a simple invitation. You can't meditate on it. It's a recognition. Boom. Okay, maybe we'll hang out and we can describe what we're not. And that's the whole point, I feel, is describing what you're not, so that maybe when you hear it, you'll realize I'm not that. Yeah? And in that moment of seeing what you were seeing from for a long time, that's the verb of seeing. The true nature of what you are has just demonstrated itself once again. It's been verbing so much, but you don't sense it, because it's always verbing. There's always consciousness flooding through, meeting this place. We don't see the verbing of it, because we believe we're the noun that's seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching. And an identification as the noun, a noun cannot understand truly a verb. Yeah? Because a noun is fixed. It's solid. It's like secure. Verbs aren't. Yeah? Verbs are movement. Movement. This consciousness is moving so much, in a sense, it's still. Yeah? It's that still silence. But its movement here is constantly, all the time, verbing, so in a way it's still. Yeah? Because it's always verbing. But we don't recognize it, because the mind interprets it as I'm seeing, I'm hearing, I'm feeling. And maybe that wouldn't be enough to confuse the mind, but then it starts having tons of opinions of what it saw. Tons of them. It starts either and or, yes or no, this couldn't be this way, or maybe it will, on, and then there's selfing galore. And in that selfing, it binds you to the idea of being this. And if you are this, the best thing you can do is try to know that as this, and that's not knowing it. That's studying it. Yeah. You can't know that as this. So the noun wants to get the verb. So it wants to know the verb. As soon as it applies its way of knowing, it's not a verb anymore. Now it's called the truth or enlightenment. It becomes an object to you as the subject. We miss the whole boat. This is not of time. It's prior to time. You can't see it. by looking, because looking is time-based. You miss it. Every time you put your attention on it, that ain't it. It's truly no escape. And then suddenly you've left the mental realm of impossible possibilities, of thinking about how it could have been different in the past, and speculating how terrible it may be in the future for you. And all that interest and attention that's following thousands of thoughts about this and that and feelings gets brought back to here, and here, because you have the ability of being conscious, you can be conscious of what's here. And you're available to it. And that's the sense of presence. Presence is very well defined. It's not wasn'ts, and it's not going to be willings. It's present. And when the mind is disengaged as you will lose interest in it. And when you lose interest in it, you will lose interest in time. And all that intention and interest that's been auctioned off and put into time, is brought back to here, and then there's the natural seeing, so you see what's obvious. Blue becomes blue, and red's red, and green's green. Not much confusion. But the game piece has a pair of glasses on. It thinks it's its eyes. And these glasses are distorting its vision. So it tries to get new ways of looking to correct those distortions. So you go to Buddhism, and then you go this, and then that, now maybe Advaita. And all you're trying to do is correct a pair of glasses because you never entertained you could take them off. So we're trying to look for the new, improved way of looking to sort of turbocharge the old way of looking until we get to such a good way of looking, we'll finally see. No, you won't. You'll still be looking. You will be looking. When you recognize, hey, this may not be me, you take off the glasses. That's seeing. Worth 800 pages of scriptures. Really. Boom. Because it doesn't impress this. Who cares about this? It impresses what's seeing this. It doesn't even impress that. What happens is this is disengaged and not emphasized, and then there's a sense of that. And that's that. And then when your head says you've forgotten it, that's not it. You're not beholden to that statement. Every time the head wants to put a flag in the river of the verb and say Paul has forgotten, it's all baloney. Everything that appears is going to disappear. It's not that. Yeah? And then there's a sense, and just like you believe, you don't really say, I'm thinking every thought now, do you? But there's a sense that you're the thinker. You don't sense that every thought is about you, but you don't think that, but you feel that. Well, then you'll have a sense that I'm not that. You don't have to go, I'm not that every moment something's arising. There's a sense that I'm not that. Then your attention rests here, in that knowledge, instead of here in this. We used to put it, someone reminded me of using another analogy. Let's say there's undifferentiated light. Yeah? An undifferentiated light comes through the mind. And the mind, someone was talking about perception last night, but actually everything is mental projection, and then you perceive it as if it's solid and real outside, but it's not. It's a projection of mind. So let's say there's a camera tripod, and it's a mobile tripod. Yeah? And there's the camera. And the camera has all this film in it of a story of a life as a game piece. Yeah? It's all in these reels, ready to go, but nothing's happening. Then the light comes in, and goes into that camera, the body, and now that light projects a story of you. Yes? First this, and then the world that this is appearing in. And then events occur to this action figure. But at every event, prior to the event, there was the consciousness of it. And at any moment, no matter how important you think tomorrow is, if the light is dismissed from that camera, bye-bye. End of story, yeah? You can go to the body. Did I share about Uncle Fred last night? To the meeting or before? Oh. When I was 9, my Uncle Fred died. I really liked Uncle Fred, yeah? Because he gave me money. I loved his money, really. He bought me off. That's why I liked him. My mother took me to the funeral, and there was an empty open casket, and my Uncle Fred was laying there. And she brought me up, and when I looked into the casket, I had a very strong hit. That ain't Uncle Fred. The body was there, but there was something obvious about the body that Fred wasn't there. And then in hindsight later on, I realized why I saw Uncle Fred as the body. I was seeing this as the body, yeah, me as the body. But if you took an eye out of Uncle Fred's head and put it into a live body, that eye would see. But now it wasn't seen. If you would have taken the ear out of his head and put in a live body, that ear would hear again. Yeah. Uncle Fred as a body had never seen ever, never heard ever, never felt, tasted, or touched ever. Yeah. Nor did the brain. It was the consciousness that enlivened it, that was living. And it's like, that's why they call it the open secret and the gateless gate. It's right as we're living, thinking we don't have it. It's demonstrating its verb. Consciousness is streaming out, seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching. Where? Where is it? Where is it? It's demonstrating itself right underneath our nose. But because we claimed it, the mind, and said, I'm seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching, that's the end of the investigation. Let's move on to the next. I want to see something different. I want to hear something different. I want to feel something different. So there's all the movements of moving towards what you want and moving away from what you want, but now there's no feeling of the seeing of it, or the hearing of it, or the feeling of it yet. Like Buddha said, when you see, and when you hear, when you feel, when you taste, when you touch. But that's not what most people are living. They're living an interpretation of seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching. The initial one is, I'm seeing that. The subjectivity is forgotten, and now you become the subject. And as soon as you're the subject, everything becomes an object, even the subjectivity. So you present all there is that at all times as if it's an object to you. And then it's up to you if you practice it or not, or entertain it or not. Could what's being perceived and seen be what you are? We haven't gone far enough. We've stopped as this, as the Alpha and the Omega. Yeah? But one more step back, and then you'll see this. Instead of seeing from it all day, you'll see it. And it will shout out at you, I'm not that. Constant reminder, because it's constantly going to be perceived as long as you're alive. Yeah? It's the perfect teaching, because it reminds you every moment, I'm not that. Yeah? When the thoughts go into what's not happening, You see them as what's not happening. What more do you need to do? Simple recognition. Why would I want to go to a therapist to get help with what's not happening? I just want to see that it's not happening. Quit it. And if that hits you, what are you going to do next? Really? Well, let's go to what? No? It's like that thing we were talking about Austin Powers last night. You ever see that movie, Austin Powers, when he has has his little band of cohorts, and his son is at the table, and his son wants to say something to Dr. Evil, and as soon as his son tries to say something, Dr. Evil goes, sit, and his son goes, it's like that. It's prior. Oh, the son's ready. Oh, no. Oh. And he goes, oh, no. Zip it good. Zip. The urge of mind, of selfing, just let me be relevant. Write myself into the story. Yeah. In recovery, called playing God. And the whole point of recovery is to quit playing God. Really. It's the how and why of the whole program of recovery. It says it in the book. Quit playing God because it doesn't work. What the hell's playing God? Check it out. When you wake up in the morning, does your head tell you how the day's going to be? It's constantly telling you how you are, isn't it? It's telling you how you're going to be, how you were. It's forecasting your whole life. Why get up? Fuck it. I know it's going to be terrible. And I'm so sure of it, I don't care if it isn't, I'm still going to interpret it as being terrible. A miracle can happen to me, I'll forget it in an hour. But that guy who bothered me 30 years ago is constantly in my mind. You have a good day, how long does it last for you before your head says, you're going to find out I'm a fraud? Or you start getting uneasy. Don't you get uneasy when it's really good? Have you ever had to sit in front of unconditional love? It's almost unbearable to the conditioned head. Because you have so many beliefs and ideas that you're not worth shit. When someone's loving you, it flips you out. I'd rather get shot by the cops than have to sit and someone love me unconditionally. It's unbearable. Really, it's worse. What we used to call the edge is nothing. The edge is going to a job appointment and having someone love you, unconditionally. It's so the mind just goes crazy because all of its framing, the love is just opening the frame up, and it's unbearable to it. Then, if you're the same mind when you're having a bad day, what does it say? It's going to last forever. You're entering a deep depression. It's incredible. One little thing one thought can ruin a whole vacation. Everything's going well, but you're at work every day. All you think about is Hawaii. Then you go to Hawaii. All you think about is work. You see people go away. That's why they have to take so many pictures, because they have a strong sense they weren't even there. But they want to prove to everyone else they were there. I was in Hawaii, I know it. Look at these pictures. Okay, you were in Hawaii. But in fact, they weren't in Hawaii. They were in work, in their little mental realm. The mind provides you something other than here and now. It provides you there and then. Yeah? And there and then, the mind's product, selfing, is the star. Yeah? There is no God in there and then. All you're left with is you. And it's amazing, people are so adamant of having free will, but they don't exhibit any free will usually now. They always feel like they're the victim. But in time, they exhibit a lot of free will. They're saying, I shouldn't have done that. If I would have done this. They will not just recognize that if something was supposed to happen, it did. And if it didn't happen, it wasn't supposed to. End of story. But in the mental realm, it's like, I can go back there. Have you ever known, you've been to hell, mental hell, occasionally? Yeah. Did you see One Door, If Only? That's a very good one to go in. Or I should have, is really good. What if? So you go into the past mental realm, and you go, what if I didn't get hit by the car? My whole life would probably be a basketball player right now. Probably be a star. You know? I'd probably would have a really nice wife and 4 kids and live in a nice place in America. But unfortunately, you can't. I got no bike car. Oh, I just sort of forgot that little fact, you know. Or what if I was a woman? I'd have 3 kids by now. I would have had the pleasure of giving birth. But I'm not a woman. Yeah. The mind has no concern with facts. It just goes into a mental realm and it exerts tons of free will. But here you act like a victim. We're willing to give our authority to every Tom, Dick, and Harry. Please, please, be my savior. But when they're bent, a savior's meant to fail us. Yeah? It's like they say in Zen, if you see the Buddha on the street, shoot him. Yeah? You see the Buddha on the street, shoot him. Because you're throwing your own Buddha nature onto them. So that you don't sense it. And it's lovely how everyone loves dead masters. Yeah? It's very safe to have a dead master. You can have any idea of what you want of them. Yeah. I'm just an inviter. I'm supposed to be obsolete. Hopefully very fast. This is like the worst career choice you could ever make. I'm supposed to be obsolete. My success rate is when no one shows up, which I'm doing rather well on this trip. Really. When there's a sense that there's no need for anything, I've done a damn good invitation. But if you start, when are you going to put out the book? When are you going to do this? It's all the same. Mind. But I don't feel it. I don't feel it, whatever that it is. I'm not feeling the presence. I'm not sensing how I thought it would be like. But at that moment, what's seeing those thoughts that you're not feeling it? And then the day you feel it, what sees those thoughts? That doesn't change. All the yes and no, all the close and far, all the movement in dualism and duality is seen by one steady fact, consciousness. Yeah? Consciousness. Most of us believe we can be unconscious and conscious, but when there's the recognition of all there is consciousness, you see through those appearances. There is no being unconscious and there's no being superconscious. All there is consciousness. It says that what's looking is what you're looking for. It doesn't say what's looking when you're at a retreat is what you're looking for. It's what's looking. At any moment of what's looking, that's it. Well, where do I come in on all this? Exactly. You have no relevance whatsoever to it. Oh, I don't think I'm going to pay much attention to that. I want to be there when it gets really good. Well, that's why it sucks. You're waiting for yourself to be able to go there to get when it gets good. It's not happening. It's just a recognition of right now the immediacy of the event of consciousness. It's like verbing of every moment. It's like that old Zen thing where I'm like a man standing by the river selling water. Yeah? It's crazy. We're talking about the ocean because we're sitting here as waves. We believe we can be dry when we're wet as hell. We'd rather have a topic and a subject called wetness instead of really just sensing the wetness. I want to know the wetness, and knowing the wetness by this is not sensing the wetness. Yeah? It's knowing everything about it, but there's no sense of it. When you sense the wetness, for me, I lost the desire to know about it. Why would the ocean want to know about itself? It's being the ocean. But when the ocean becomes identified as a wave, then it wants to know about the ocean. But all you need to do is see you're not a wave. That's the ocean. And then the ocean is going to intimate itself as it moves through here. You can't see it, you can't feel it, you can't taste it. It's not an object, but you can intimate it or sense it. And in that sensing it is that sensing translates into I'm not that. Whatever arises, I'm not. And it's I'm not that, and that's that. questions tonight? Yeah. I don't want to get fired up. You don't want to see me fired up. Calm and down. It gets centered here. If you go like this and get ready for a talk, you already missed the whole talk. It's prior to that. It's way prior to us even sitting down. You missed it. It's you getting ready. You getting ready can never receive it. Never receive it. It's like they say in the Bible, it's like a thief in the night. It comes in the back door. When you're least expecting it, you notice its presence because you may be walking around the house and you have no idea the thief's in there. Then you see some things missing, yes? Like your opinions and ideas about things. And something starts happening and you start getting economized and pared down and you don't have a wealth of information. You just know what to do next. Yeah? You realize it isn't about acquiring and getting. It's about letting go, basically.
Yeah, it seems like it's such a, my experience is it's such a sense with the body. It's so triggered. It feels like it's really automatic, even though, it's so clear what you're saying. And the clarity's there. I watch my senses and it's like, it's triggered up by the body.
But before, during, and after all those triggers is the seeing. Yeah? The seeing is like an all-time verb, so it seems still, yeah? There's all seeing, that's all there is seeing. So everything that arises can be seen. Yeah? It's not can be seen, it is seen. And there can be a recognition. As long as there's a first seeing, I'm not that. As this, then there's an easy ability to recognize what's arising is not you. And having a sense, no matter what arises, what sees it is always in place. Because there's no arising without seeing. Yeah. So even the arising becomes a teacher, because it points to what's seen. You can't see the seeing, but you can see what's arising. And in the seeing of the arising, it points to the seeing. Yeah? Because the seeing is always there. It's like here. Did I talk about gravity last night? I have no idea what happened last night. Yeah, well, gravity. If you went into a cafe today, did you hear anyone talking about gravity? Gravity was really heavy on my shoulder today. I look at there's a lot of gravity on your right shoulder there. Nobody in hell is talking about gravity all around this place, and yet the body's constantly being pressed down by it. Yeah? It's always so there's no recognition of it, because you're not having an experience of gravity. Yeah? Because you're in a state of gravity. Yeah? So, in a sense, this seeing is always so. It's not an experience. You don't have an experience of seeing. You get a sense of it. You can't experience it because it's always so. There's no beginning or end to it. Yeah? It doesn't arise nor does it depart. That's why most people don't see it. They don't sense the seeing because it's always so. It's like gravity. It's like, let's say someone put a hand on my shoulder when I was born. I wouldn't know it was there. I'd be walking around with this hand, and people were going, "Oh, look at that hand on your shoulder. What? What are you talking about?" But then one day it lifts, and I know it by its absence. The whole point of seeing is you know it by this absence. We are entertaining, like a photograph, we're entertaining the positive and thinking the negative is nothing. I would say it's switched around. Nothing is all there is, and something is an appearance. But our minds are addicted to the something, and we're calling this real, and yet all this we call nothing. But nothing is real, and this is an appearance. So in a sense, the presence is this absence. And the absence is entertained as the presence not being you, then it reveals itself as an absence. It's absent of any inherent identity. Yeah? Or in Buddhism, like they call it, emptiness. Everything is empty of an inherent existence. Exactly. So you see, I'm not that, and that's the seeing. Maybe it will take you 800 times, I'm not that. Maybe once. It matters how much mind is cherishing the object, yeah? Could be loosened like that, or maybe you repeat it. You come and hear and know, yeah. But the whole point is that seeing what you're not is the act of being what you are. When you're not, what you call the presence has become absent. And then the presence that you are is intimated, yeah? But it can't be intimated to you as the presence. You as a presence cannot be present to presence. It's your absence that's presence. There's no one who's present to it, yeah? There's no one without a second. There's no none without a first. There's no way I'm present of the presence. It's the recognition that I'm absent, that's the presence. And that absence can be maintained by the recognition of what's ever arising, I'm not. Yeah? And then it doesn't turn the presence into a goal that you as the absence wants to get. It's seen that you're absent of any intent or any drive or any effect. It's like when I move this chair, it doesn't show any effect that was ever in the space, only on other appearances. Yeah? I can only affect an appearance as an appearance. Whatever I do hasn't left one imprint on what I am. Not one. The most heinous thing, I could have killed many people. It wouldn't leave one scar on what I am. It only has an effect in the world of appearances. So, a causeless cause can seem to cause something in the appearances. But when you recognize I'm not that, you see its absence, and it has absence of all influence. Boom. And this travels light as the game piece. Yeah. You can't argue with all the moving, it's an action figure. Yeah? It's gonna, like, box 'em, sock 'em thing. It's gonna do things and have things and run around and like that, and then it's gonna believe it has self-will and yapping like it could change everything and da-da-da. So what? There's constantly, all of those gymnastics is being seen by what you are. No matter how tricky the flip is, yeah, there would be no even appreciation or critique of it without the seeing. You can't go farther than seeing. There's no way else. Yeah. So why go any farther? How many more spiritual experiences do you need to acquire and consume with the hopes that it's going to change the game piece so it can be another game piece in the no game piece? No game. It's not going to happen. That's the great news. So much pressure comes off you. You can take a deep breath. I don't care how many massages you get when you're identified as the self. You'll never get a relaxation of that when it's absent. It's a whole different level of relaxation. You can get massage every freaking day. I used to go to Thailand. It was like $4 for a 2-hour massage. I got massage every other day for months. I mean, at $4, 2 hours massage. Never close to this. When this dropping of the self as you is entertained, because it doesn't occur, it's entertained, you're not that, there's a deep relaxation that comes over you. Because now, you're like a kid. You don't have any, you can't, there's no there that you could be in when you're here. It just seems obvious, yeah? So there's an immunity to all the mental realm of traveling from the past to the future and just shitting on the present, in a sense, yeah? You're just here because you can't entertain being there. Because there's a clarity of it's not happening. Any questions? Eh? Spanish, Romanian, English. Right? So let's say the mind goes home and thinks about it. But the seeing isn't where you think it is. It's seeing the mind going home and thinking about it. Yeah? The it that the mind's thinking about isn't it. The seeing of the mind thinking about it is it. Yeah? You can't get behind it. There's no way you get behind the seeing. Let me think about that. The seeing. Seeing.
¿Qué significa la palabra sí?
Say awareness. Awareness is seeing. It's not visual. Yeah. It's not just visual. It's seeing.
Seeing like the same thing as being, but being is more difficult to identify, so seeing is more, is a different way of saying it.
No, I think seeing is seeing the being. The being is conscious contact, yeah? But there's a seeing of that. You give names to it, but there's just a seeing of being. There's something that is seeing being. Because it's not being awareness. I don't believe it's a being or non-being type thing. It doesn't have it can't be structured in a dualistic breakdown. But there's a sense of onness, yeah? There's a sense of onness. Onness means you're on, yeah? Now, if you close your eyes, does it feel like you stop at the cheek in here? No, it seems like space, yeah? It's only the conditioned mind that stops at the cheek. How can this have that? And if it can't have it, it'll just try to forget it. Because it definitely doesn't want to recognize it, is it? Because that would be the end of it. I don't know how to end meetings here in Spain. When I am home, it's very easy. I ask for questions, and I leave the window about 20 seconds, and that's it. I go, any questions? No. Good. That's
What I find amazing as well is that this is like there's not really much room for anything. There's not really a way out. It's spirit all the time. And my sense is that it's always trying to look for a way out. It's always trying to formulate a way out. It's trying to intellectually trying to find something to not see. And
that's being
very,
seen.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
being
that's
seen
being
also.
exactly. Yeah. So my sensation is that's being seen, and but my mind wants to get in and claim it all the time. It's trying to make something out of it.
Yeah, that's its nature.
Then, yeah,
It's like that lady at the snake store, you know.
yeah. It's kind of like going all the time. It creates a sense of fear to all continuously. It feels like it doesn't want to recognise that because it feels like it hasn't got a stronghold.
Yeah. It's funny that the mind would have fear about something that's always here.
That's what I was saying before. It feels like it's really embedded in the body. It feels like it comes up so automatic.
You would think that the mind, feeling like it's separate, would really be happy to sense something that's always here. It would be a true security for it.
It does. I think it does eventually.
Yeah.
When it's not feeling that, it's feeling it has I don't know what I feel is like it has this power. This isn't. Yeah. So it will come in with fear and come with doubt and it will judge you all the time.
So if you see a fear and there's no claiming of it, it tends to change your experience of it, yeah? When fear becomes my fear, it has a whole different interpretation. See, how head gives meaning to things is claiming them. So any event, any experience here, with any conscious contact, when claimed as it's being you that's in conscious contact, now that you represents a lot of meanings. Your conditioning, beliefs, ideas, subconscious stuff you're not even aware of. But through the mind, it injects meaning to those things. And then you believe you're perceiving them as if they're real and they're actually the carrier of that meaning, but the mind's projected it into it. So you're the dreamer. In the Course in Miracles it would say, you're the dreamer, but you forgot you dreamt this dream and you've given it all the power to affect you as a dreamed object. Yeah? So they would always say perception is projection before perception. The mind projects, and then there's a perception from self-centeredness, which is askew or distorted, very, and that perception reinforces the idea that there's a solid, real world out here. So it's like a complete game board. With all of the mechanisms of this body, you cannot get out with these mechanisms. You can't think yourself out of it. You can't perceive yourself out of it. You can't experience yourself out of it. How many spiritual experiences have you had? I mean, I know people who are with some very powerful teachers who are into lots of kriyas, which means demonstrations, like Kundalini and images and Krishna and everything, on and on and on. And after years, it didn't mean anything. Nothing radically changed. So you can't get out of it through perceiving. You can't get out of it through experience. You can't get out of it through thinking. Yeah? All of the mechanisms of beingness cannot be used to know that. The best you can do with all of these is get exhausted by them. Where you've had tons of experiences. And I read this article in a Buddhist magazine once, and it was really interesting to me. They had this teacher who'd been teaching meditation for like 30 years, and he was writing this thing that, there's been this new phenomena. All of my old students who've been meditating for 25 years and stuff have been getting in touch with me and saying, nothing actually has changed. 25 years of meditating, nothing actually radically has changed. See, anything that is done here and had here is tattooed with the modality of doing and having. And that tattoo overrides whatever meaning you think that thing is going to carry you to the other shore. That other shore is just like the shore you left. It just has hope as the wind behind its sail. And you're hoping that when I arrive there, it's going to be great. But it turns into the same shore you left. Then someone sells you the boat and you go in the other direction, hoping that. So So every mechanism, feeling are not facts. Yeah? Perception, thinking, imaginating, creative visualization, all of them are in the box of self-centeredness. None of them take you out of it. Hasn't that been proved? How can self get out of self? This is a contained system called self-centeredness. Every escape hatch doesn't lead anywhere. Obviously, look at it. So the point is, what would happen if you looked at what's driving you to all of these attempts to know what you can't know, and maybe you're not that, that would be the true knowing, yes? The true knowing would become very quick. Because it's not knowing as this, which is impossible. You would know that you're not. Immediately you access knowing. Because it's not done by doing and having. It's no thought or effort on your part. You have not thought it into relevance, yes? You haven't felt it into being. None of the mechanisms have no use to this, and it's sort of like, that's that. That's the knowing. The knowing is that none of this knowing works. Yeah. For that task. But the habit of it, the doing and having, is very, very strong. So the self immediately, if it's presented a clear message that stops it in its tracks, it takes very little time to make it a path. And the path is the greatest way to hide the truth, because you're moving towards it. And then the story ensues, how good you're doing or how bad you're doing in it. And then if you're doing really good, it's basically based on you. And if you're doing really bad, it's based on you. That, to me, is playing God. You can meet the greatest master that you believe is the greatest master. Let's say you really love this one person, and you meet him. And that person says, you need do nothing then, you need do nothing now, and you need do nothing later. And you get the hit. Oh, the greatest authority has just told me it's okay to be this, really, basically, because I'm not. Yeah? Then you go home, and in about 2 or 3 hours, I bet you're going to go back to this authority, and you're going to pull your pill out, but I'm going to meditate, and this and that. The greatest of all authorities gets overridden by the real authority, your head. Yeah? Jesus or whoever appeared here and said, bro, there's nothing you need to do in the past, now, or the future. And you'd be stunned. The Zen bitch slap would echo, everywhere. You'd forget in a few hours. You'd be back seeking again. I don't think that was the real Jesus. I think the real Jesus hasn't come yet. I didn't like that message. So now, no authority, an invitation. Yes. Humble invitation. You are that by describing what you're not. To me, you can't describe what you are, but you can describe what you're not. So here you are, my humble description of what I believe, what we're not. Let it resonate, see what happens. If you start traveling lighter, entertain it. If you're not, go to the next teacher. He's definitely probably going to be better than me. It'll work, maybe that. Yeah. And then they'll fail you, and you move to the next one, or whatever. Go on and on. Then you'll say, I'm not going to any masters anymore. And then you'll be going to your real master, you, once again. And then you'll leave that and go. So that's that. Yeah. You're welcome. Yeah. Tea and cookies. Yeah. I got a thumbs up from Johnny. Yeah, brother. All right. That's one. Everyone else. Oh, two. What about Johnny? No. Oh Thank God it's impossible for you. That's what makes it possible. It's not for you. Yeah. That's beautiful. It is impossible for you. Admit it. Drop into it. Sense it. It's impossible. Give up the ghost. Then let it carry you. Yeah. I love that place. It's impossible for me. I love it. It is impossible for you. That's the good news. But if you're not that makes everything possible. Yeah? It's impossible for you. Hallelujah. Because that makes everything possible. You're not that. All the story has no relevance. All the things that tell you you can't do this or you can't entertain that, and of course they're true in this respect as you. You're not that. Yes. I think I'm going to have to learn Spanish then. Yeah.
Algunas cosas, pero
Dice que es porque dijiste que no, yo no, es imposible. Dice, eso es buena noticia. Porque en eso hay libertad. Porque tú nunca vas a poder coger porque tú eres eso.
I'm going to get a cookie or something. Thank you, everybody. Yeah. All right, all the alcoholics stay after class.